All right, so if you're following the EV market, if you're following Tesla, then you definitely know that the EV tax credit is gone. But whereas that is a negative, we have one positive that I wanted to kind of reignite, because there's not a lot of people talking about this, but it is the incentive, the tax incentive for automotive vehicles, any kind, not just EVs, but any type of vehicle that is made in the U.S. So if it reaches a certain threshold of being made in the U.S., if final assemblies in the U.S., then those vehicles will apply for this tax credit, which a lot of vehicles are actually assembled in the U.S. Even non-U.S. vehicles are actually assembled in the U.S. because it's just a lot more expensive, like tariff-wise, and what else? And overall, just volume of the vehicle, it's a lot more expensive to ship it over here. So there's going to be a ton of different options available to purchase from. So what is this tax credit if you haven't heard of it? Basically, this tax credit gives you the ability to write off interest on your automotive loan. So as you know, most people, I think it's over 80% of people in the U.S., buy their vehicles with a loan, which just makes sense, right? Why pay cash for your vehicle when you can get a loan for it? However, a vehicle loan is actually not a very good financial decision, and I'll get into that here in 1 second. But however, this makes it a lot better. So this incentive allows for a $10,000 credit per year. So that right there is pretty phenomenal, because majority of people are not paying anywhere near $10,000 in interest per year on their vehicle. So this is not only going to be good for the automotive market and stimulating automotive sales, but it's also going to be very good for the individuals, right? Because our houses are our most expensive expense, and then generally it's our number two is our automotive loan. Unless you live in Evansville, Indiana, then it's probably your electric bill. I'm kind of kidding, but not really. We have like utility bills, electric bills, or whatever. They're like $600 a month. So stuff gets pretty crazy for utilities. I pay almost as much for that as I do the Model Y with no interest. But so that's like the one caveat is like also to like 0% interest vehicles. Like you're obviously not going to get that. My Model Y is actually not 0% interest. It's like 1% interest, but 1% interest is pretty negligible. We're probably only paying like maybe $1,000 a year in interest. Now, for the Cybertruck, which is probably one of the first or worst financial decisions that I could have made, the Cybertruck is a very good example of something that's going to be a ton of interest. So the Cybertruck was actually very interesting, and really, I've almost never got automotive loans. So I'll take you into that a little bit. I've never got automotive loans until like this last year. Everything that I've ever bought has been cash. Every single vehicle I've ever bought. I'm like 33 years old now. Until this last year, and then in this last year, I bought what did I buy? An Expedition, I bought a Lincoln, I bought the Model Y, and I bought the Cybertruck, okay? And so if you're wondering why I'm making these terrible financial decisions, it's because we were actually launching another business through like Turo and vehicle rental, which we're actually kind of tapering off. Like we're definitely not growing it. We're definitely not looking to expand. I was interested in like expanding for the sake of like robotaxi to start building out a fleet of vehicles, but there's a few things that I don't like about that business. I'll just mention those real quick. One is you can get delisted from the platform, like the vehicle itself can get delisted from like recalls and stuff. And so that's pretty annoying that you have like this loan against something. And so it creates a major liability, really, especially if like you had a fleet of like a bunch of the same vehicles and then all of a sudden a recall comes out. And then so you have to remain profitable in that business, then you have to be extremely nimble and like hurry up and sell that vehicle that actually has a recall on it. Most recalls are not that big of a deal, but they're a big of a deal in the sense of like getting you delisted from the platform until that recall can get satisfied. Like for our Expedition, it took them over like 9 months to satisfy that recall, and so we just like couldn't wait 9 months and making a payment on a vehicle, or wasn't willing to at least. Then we had a Lincoln. It got basically totaled, and that's been like a whole nightmare. We've been dealing with Turo for like over 2 months to get it fixed. Still not fixed yet. So just like, I'm not putting much effort or time into it, but like we're also making a payment on a vehicle that's, sitting idle, not generating any revenue. So that's why I did that. I just had to add that caveat because I don't really promote people getting vehicle loans. It's like, again, one of the worst financial decisions that you can do. Now, a house, I am very for that. I think everybody should buy a house. I think it's a great equity builder. And it's also like the primary, secondary business that I'm focused on. Meaning that like I have my Elite Automation company, which is our automation company with doing like stuff in robotics, but then we have a properties company. And basically just investing in properties and doing rentals and stuff like that. So definitely subscribe if you're interested in those type of things and other wealth building tools. But going back to like the automotive loan into the Cybertruck, that was a terrible decision because I kind of just made the decision I wanted to buy the Cybertruck. I've worked for years and years and years. I've had an engineering background. I've been an engineer for like 10 plus years. And I've, I don't want to say that I haven't treated myself, but I've definitely lived below my means. I bought like a 2012 Toyota Camry and I drove that thing till like it ended up getting totaled actually. And I had that thing for like 5 something years. So I got it back in like 2018 or something like that when I was like 5 years old. And then, so like no car payment and like just being very disciplined in that. And then so the Turo thing was part of the thing too. Like I probably would have never made the decision also if it wasn't for Turo. So I could put up the Cybertruck on there and get it rented out. And it still does rent out occasionally. It's just like very infrequent. And then you have people like the damage, like somebody broke the charge port door and that was really annoying. And we had to pay like $300 for that to get fixed. And the whole entire trip was $300. So like it's super net negative. And like, especially when you put in the time and resources to like, take you to the service center and all that, and our service center is 2 hours away. Another story, I don't want to get into that. We can talk about that in another video if interested. But the Turo was part of the reason why I did get the Cybertruck, because like, okay, well, it'll offset some of the expense. The other big thing the Cybertruck had that helped me with that decision was it had the free lifetime supercharging. And so like to date, I can pull this up real quick. To date, I've saved a ton of money on my Cybertruck. Just due to the free supercharging, because I travel a ton. I only had the vehicle for like maybe 9 months. I don't even think it's been 9 months yet. And the amount of where's that at in the app? Charge status. Okay. The amount of money that I've saved has been like crazy. So the gas savings is $6,700, and I also normally have been driving like the Lincoln, the Expedition. I drive big SUVs, and even on my big long road trips, I drive my SUVs. I just really like SUVs. I like the comfort of them. I like the space of them. Tesla, make an SUV, make the Cyber SUV. I know it may not be the best financial decision. I don't think they will make one because the Cybertruck sold so bad. If the Cybertruck ever picks up and sells and starts doing like some like 100,000 units a year, I think that they would then consider an SUV. And I also think an SUV might actually sell more than the pickup truck, because I think there's a lot of people who drive Teslas who have families who want that bigger vehicle. A van would also do as well, but again, I would still definitely prefer the SUV. But my gas savings is $6,700 in just 9 months. Okay, and my total spent that I've actually spent, this is crazy, for 9 months, I've spent $96. And that's because I plugged in to charge one night because I didn't want to have to wake up early in the morning and charge and blah, blah, blah things. So I just charged it overnight so that way we could just bounce out in the morning and, not have to worry about hitting a supercharger immediately as soon as we're leaving. Yeah, so let me run some numbers on that real quick. Calculate, what was I said, 6,700. It's like slightly over that. 6,700 divided by 9 for the 9 months. That puts us at $750 a month. So my payment on that is equal minus, I think, $2,100. So I'm paying basically $1,300 a month. On average, I'm paying $1,300 a month after I consider like that gas savings. It might be inflated a little bit, like if I just compare like a Cybertruck without. If I compare the Cybertruck without the free supercharging, it's giving me the gas equivalent, so it's probably a little bit inflated. I could look at like the kilowatt hours and see like what the actual cost of that would be, but I know it's super expensive. It's like driving a pickup truck as far as like having to fill it up, and when you fill up, it's $120 to fill it up. I have a Ford Expedition, or no, I do have one of those too, but I have a Ford Excursion. That Ford Excursion freaking is like $120 to fill up. I think the Expedition is only like $75 to fill up, and I think the newer Expedition and Lincoln that we have are also like only like $75 to fill up. This is about like $75 to fill up as well, the Cybertruck. If I just equate it to like electricity charges, that like $96 that's on there, it was like literally one charge, and I think one charge, and it was like $75, and then there's like one other charge where I maybe just charged it for a few minutes to make it sure that I could get to like a supercharger or something like that. So it does cost a lot to fill that thing up. Even doing it at your house, it's a very equivalent to like a gas vehicle. So like just kind of like reversing back and just kind of talking about like the financial decision of purchasing this vehicle. I was able to get the $7,500 tax credit. However, like going forward, I really don't know if I personally will afford or would have even been able to get the $7,500 tax credit, just due to income and how many business things I have going on. Oh, but here was the other thing then. So when I went to go buy the Cybertruck, I went to purchase it as a business so I could just make it a tax write-off. And I was pretty committed already that I was going to buy the Cybertruck. And so when I went to apply and basically get a business loan against it, I got denied for whatever reason. Probably because I've not bought vehicles with that business, and so that's probably part of the reason why I denied. Also, another thing, if you don't know anything about loans, different loans, so say for instance like a personal loan and a business loan, are like different product types, right? And they have completely different lenders. You may have a lender that only does personal loans, and you might have a lender that only does business loans, right? And so that really changes like the investors that are willing to give you a loan. So if you ever run into like loan issues, that could be part of the reason. It could be a particular vehicle. It could be a lender says that like, oh, we don't ever lend against Chevys because like they have terrible, and they could say we don't ever lend. Actually, this was a problem. We don't ever lend against a Tesla. It took a long time. Tesla actually struggled with lenders wanting to support them in the very beginning because of being an EV. They didn't know what resale value was going to be and all that good stuff. And so damn, I lost my train of thought. Oh, so like just like lenders like weren't wanting to support. So the point being is I ended up buying the vehicle with a personal loan, which means I couldn't write it off on my business taxes, and really sucked because that would have been like hella worth it. Hella worth it. I would have wrote off like all my earnings from last year, which was like my highest earning year ever. Yeah, so that really sucks that I couldn't do that. Now, however, I think that I can backdate this. I think it's good till January, where like starting in 2025, like you've bought a vehicle this year, you can actually apply this to any interest that you've paid this year on a vehicle. Actually, I'm going to search it up real quick just to verify that. I can't see because I have all these coffees and stuff in my way. By the way, I'm using an AI camera. Let me know what you think about this. It kind of gets on my nerves, to be honest. Does it get on your nerves? It's like the way it tracks, it's like kind of distracting me. By the way, Grok, can I apply this to a vehicle bought in January? Grok is like my best friend right now. We hang out all day, every day. I can just do so many analyzations on different things. It's like mind-blowing. You don't even need me here. The only reason you need me here is because you don't want to read. I have that same problem. I don't like reading either. Let me know what you think about the AI setup. I need to like get a permanent office setup and stop switching my office setup all the time, because I'll do like this really nice office setup. have thousands of dollars set up in this office setup, buy a desk, buy all my monitor things, and have, like at the shop I have, like 2 monitors here. I have a vertical monitor that's like a ultra wide screen, like one of those curved monitors, and it's like vertical. And like I use that one for like my chat and stuff because I have so many like chat boxes and stuff between all my businesses. And so like I have like those really nice setups, and then I work from home most of the time. I don't even use that setup just because, we have like a remote working culture for Elite Automation. And then the property side of things doesn't really require me to be on site either, unless I'm somehow supporting with like some renovation thing that we're doing. And then I was sitting in the living room for a long time, or not the living room. I was sitting in the dining room for a long time because I like the open window. And then I have a basement that we just dropped like $50,000 in redoing. Like it's super nice basement down there, and I work in there occasionally. Sometimes you'll see me shoot some YouTube videos down there, but I don't have a good work setup, and I don't know if I want to add a work setup to that area. It's like really nice. It would be great if I'd set up a permanent area for like YouTube video, or not just YouTube videos, but like an office space, and then do YouTube videos and have like a good camera set up there. It would be kind of cool for that, but I don't know if I want to put an office down there because it's like our entertainment room. We have a pool table and all that good stuff. So I kind of want to keep it an entertainment room. I do have like still like another like 500 square feet that's not being utilized, which I could easily put an office in for like me and Jenna and the work kids. But I also have like this bedroom that I'm in right now. That's like one of our spare bedrooms. That's what you can tell, like see right there. Hey, the market's about to open. 8:25. Yeah, you can see there's like clothes that are like piled in that corner that are supposed to get like put in storage or whatever. But yeah, I need to get a better setup. Let me know what you think, if you give a shit or not. But yeah, let's get back to the topic of this video. Yeah, so I mean, it just says it's effective in 2025. You should be able to do it for any of 2025. Yeah, you can do it up to 2025. So like January 2025, you should be good. So with that being said, I bought the Cybertruck in 2025. So I might be able to recoup all of my interest lost on the Cybertruck. I wonder if I can pull that up real quick just to give you some numbers. I'm sorry, if these videos are like too long for you, just let me know. I probably won't make them any shorter, but just let me know. I can always pass my videos to my video editor, but I just have my video editors and stuff like that just like too busy. And also one thing that I did as a change as like just an entrepreneur is I am really focused on revenue generation. I spent a lot of years on like just reinvesting into the company. I mean, at one point in time, we had like 6 people in our marketing team. And since then, we've downsized. Just because, like, I just started, like, realizing that, it's not going to let me log in, dude. How annoying. But yeah, so I just decided that, gosh damn it, dude. See, like, it'd be nice to have this part edited out, but again, I've just been focused on, like, let's be, fuck it. Let's be profitable. I'm not gonna try to search this whole thing. It'll take me too long, and I get stressed out whenever I try to do things under a time crunch. So yeah, point being is for the Cybertruck loan, I mean, I'm paying like a total of like $200,000 for that vehicle. And pay attention to this. If you're buying a vehicle, pay attention to how much interest you're paying. Also, if you're buying a house, pay attention to how much interest you're paying. You're generally paying for, especially a house, you're paying double what the house is worth, right? So if you can ever pay down quicker on a house. Now, on the flip side, if you're going to invest in like the stock market or something like that, your money is much better spent in the stock market versus spent like paying down your house. So like as of right now, I'm actually pulling money out of houses to put more money into the stock market, and then I'm like wish-washing that. I'm as I make money in the stock market, I'm buying more houses. So yeah, we're currently in the process. We just bought 2 houses, and we're buying like 4 more, like basically now. we close on like 2 of them within like the next week, and we close on another 2 of them in like within a month. So yeah, that's part of the phase. It's actually like beyond what we wanted to do, but like with like the recent like gains that we made in the stock market, we just wanted to diversify again. And also with what we're doing, it's going to create like a cash flowing asset. So it's actually going to cash flow pretty decently, where we will earn a lot of that money back. I can get into that. I have like a whole spreadsheet of like our properties and stuff like that we're doing there. Pretty proud of it. I actually built out the spreadsheet. I've actually been spending my time this week building out a spreadsheet that's going to like calculate like total net worth, both on an appreciation of the property and also in the equity built on the property over time. And like, why is that so important? One, I just kind of want the status. I want to look at it and say like, where are we at today? Like how much net worth do we have? So like that's one thing, and that helps especially on bad days. Like we have like with as much business things that we're doing, like a house could catch on fire or something. And you're like, oh, this is a really bad day. And sometimes it helps just psychologically to go look at a sheet and be like, yeah, it's okay. We have this much net worth. It's not that big of a deal. Just one house. It's like how you got to think about things as you grow. I mean, we like, for example, Elite Automation, we had a customer hold $1 million for over like 9 months. And, so like a stressful time, put a huge stress on the business, employees, like all these things. And so like you need something that's like a positive encouragement. But even more importantly than that, well, I don't know if that's more important because like psychological health and all that's pretty important. But is portfolio management, being able to make projections, like future projections and decisions based on those projections. Because like a lot of times, like whenever you're doing business things, stuff can become emotional, and you can like either make decisions or not make decisions based on your emotion. And so like you have to make sure that, you're not either not holding yourself back because you're scared to do something, or vice versa. You're just making a bad decision. I'll go back to properties because it's easy. I really like properties because of how like easy it is. We might buy a property that we really want, right? But it's not actually the best investment. Or we may not want to buy a property because we feel like we are too invested, right? One of the perfect examples that I can run this through is we just bought a property that's like our most expensive property. And something like my calculations that I ran it through these calculations, and it basically just like it showcases like our ROI and our cash flow on the property and stuff like that. And I was like, I knew what they wanted for the price of the house. Was like, I'll just be transparent with it. They wanted like $280 for the house, and I was like, well, like if we can get it for like $240 or something like that, then we'll buy it, and it'll be a really good investment because we can also cash out refi for the return on that property. Because we're in a neighborhood where everything's like over $300,000. So this house needs a little bit of renovation work, but not a ton. It's like kind of like a small facelift, carpet, and a few things like that. So we offered them like $220. They rejected the $220 offer. We then hit them again with a $240 offer. They accepted that offer. But point being is, so now we're like buying our I don't know if it's biggest, but definitely our nicest property. We're buying our nicest property for an investment, and that decision was made based on like spreadsheet and like running these calculations and making sure like it's a good return and a good ROI. And I'm trying to be a good and disciplined investor in that way, where I just make sure that something's going to be a good investment. And also too, like what may not be the best 2-year ROI, it might be the best like 4-year ROI or 5-year ROI. And so my one sheet does really good at this is my 2-year ROI. However, this other sheet that I'm building out is like what's the best like 10-year ROI or 20-year ROI, or just overall help with like the projection. Okay, if we decide today to go ahead and buy 3 more properties, this is where it's going to put us at in 10 years. So like that type of projection. Sorry, I went off on a side tangent, but I think it's very valuable for people to know, especially if you're trying to grow your wealth and just like look for different avenues to become wealthy and to build wealth over time. And if you're just entrepreneurial in general. So like back to back to the loan of the Cybertruck after that 10-hour side tangent. I'm gonna pay like $200,000 for like the 120. I think I'm paying $120 for the Cybertruck. So for the $120,000 vehicle, I'm gonna pay $200,000 for that vehicle, just due to interest on the loan. Now with this and this personal thing, this actually worked out perfect because I didn't really even realize this, but I double dipped. I got the $7,500 tax credit, and I'm gonna be able to rerun this again at the with the interest too. So I got $7,500 off the vehicle. So maybe it was 30, and then I got the $7,500 tax credit. I don't know, but it was like roughly around like 120 for the loan, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, so with like that being said, that the Cybertruck's interest is dumb. I mean, I think it's like a 7-year loan. I was wanting to pull it up. I should have had it pulled up before I shot this video. But with it being like a 7-year loan or something like that, and if I'm paying like $80,000 in interest, that's like $10,000 a year in interest. And your first year is going to be more. I'm sure I'm probably paying, is that right? Over $10,000 a month. And let me do this. Calculate. So if I have a $2,100 payment times 12, yeah, my total payments for the year is $25,000. So I'm sure the first year is actually going to be over $10,000. So I'm basically going to get a $10,000 credit back for the Cybertruck since I bought it personally. I'm going to get a $10,000 credit back, which is super sick. And I'm going to be able to get that same $10,000 credit back for like the next few years. And it's good till 2008. Sorry, I kind of left out some of the details of this thing. It's 2008, and it could be extended. We don't know. I don't like that we don't have that confirmation because most people are not getting a 3-year loan. I really wish they would have extended this out, because another thing is too is like if we don't know when they're going to extend it to, and we'll only have it out till 2008. When we get into like 2006, and then we get into 2007, you're going to be okay. Well, I'm going to have 1 year of this tax credit. So I really wish they would like have it started out with it being much more extended, like let it be like 2030 or 2035 or something like that. That would have kept people like more confident, because like even with like the Cybertruck, I don't know if this is going to follow it throughout the lifetime of the loan. If it's on like a 7-year loan or 6-year loan, then it's only going to get like a few years covered of it. So that'd be like, would it be 3 years? It'd be 3 or 4 years, 2008. So 2005 to 2008. But in tax years, I think it would be 4 years. I could have that mixed up. I get a little bit confused whenever I think about those things. What I wanted to pull up is I forgot. I do have a whole sheet. I track everything, every loan that I have. What is it? Move my 27 coffees out of the way. Motive. Okay, here we go. Cybertruck, $2,100. Yeah, Cybertruck, 8.75% interest. Dumb. Let me get that back this year. 8.75% interest. Okay, my actual, this is my owed. I owe $117 right now. I also didn't put much down on the vehicle either, because I got to hold on to that cash. However, out of all the assets that I have, the Cybertruck is probably the thing that I need to pay down the most, because it has the highest interest rate out of everything, and the highest like valuation, and maybe even the longest loan. The Model Y loan I did pretty long too, but at like 1% interest, it like cost me no interest. So it's like, I'm not that worried about that one. You always want to try to pay down like things that are going to be like your highest interest, and or things that you can pay off more quickly. Like say for instance, if I had 2 Cybertrucks, I owed $30,000 on one, and I owe $100,000, $117,000 on the other one. It kind of makes more sense to pay off the $30,000 one, so that way you can just drop that payment. So on like a liability standpoint, you are, reducing that liability. You now have that extra amount that you can shift over to that higher amount Cybertruck and start making payments on it. So, kind of to summarize, this tax credit, especially if you buy an expensive vehicle like something like the Cybertruck, and it's at a high interest, which is also good for banks too. Like if banks can charge a higher interest percent because people know they can just write it off, then this might really stimulate the banking market, the vehicle loan market as well. Because generally your loans are basis points off of, what like the federal tax rate is or whatever. So they go off of that basis, then plus so much interest. And most people, if you're able to write off 100% of your interest, I mean, you can buy a pretty expensive vehicle. And then at that point, you're basically buying it cash. If you're getting that incentive back for all that money you put into interest, you're literally buying the vehicle cash. And then in reality, that makes buying a vehicle not the most terrible use of your money. That's a vehicle going from being like the worst decision to make with your money to like not a bad decision to make with your money. So anytime you can get a vehicle on like a 0% APR, or really anything on 0% APR, and or like very minimal, like 1% interest, or like this new tax credit where it's going to eliminate the cost of the interest. So it doesn't matter if it's at 5%, 10%, 20%. The only caveat to that is if they end it in 2008 and then they don't extend it, then you're going to be caught with the back end of that loan with whatever interest amount that is still left there. However, on the flip side, you're a few years into your loan, so you're paying the same percentage, but you're going to be paying a lot less just due to the amortization. If you don't know what amortization is, it's the schedule of like how much you're paying towards interest versus how much you're paying towards principal. So the first few years, you're paying the most towards your interest, and as the loan gets later into its years, now you're paying more to the principal and less towards the interest. So that would get you through that high interest period, and that would be good. Like really, if there was a loan out there where it was like pay all the interest up front, that would be the loan that you wanted. For example, because like if there were even a loan product out there like that, I don't know if it is. I bet you somebody will create that loan product because it's going to be like a loophole around the government where, let's say, for instance, I did a 5-year loan and the first 2 years were 100% interest. So like maybe let's say you had $1,000 a month payment. And then so that'd be $12,000 a year. You would basically only pay $2,000 and you would get that whole $10,000 back. And then so you just pay interest for like those first 2 years. You don't pay anything down on the equity of your vehicle, but you get all that money cash back at the end of the year. So you essentially are getting your vehicle for free. You basically have to loan your money throughout the year, but then as soon as you get your taxes back, you get all that money right back to you. And if you keep that amount where it was like under the $10,000 mark, then you would be able to, literally pay zero. Because in that example I just gave, you would pay $2,000 a year directly towards interest, which would kind of suck. But in the grand scheme of things, now for like 2 years, you've paid nothing but interest. Now on the back half of that loan, it's all principal, 100% principal. Or maybe it's like 95% principal. Maybe that to bake in some interest there. But, it would just be like highly advantageous, especially whenever like if this ends in 2008, that loan structure would be perfect. I don't know if they can do that. I don't know if you can run a weird loan, especially like the government would catch on to it pretty quick and say no more of those loans. They say no, we can't do that no more. I would assume there has to be a weird loan product that would allow something like that. That would be highly advantageous to look into. But I mean, if not, like you're still going to pay down basically the same, and you're going to put in equity your first few years. So just the fact they're paying off interest is great. Again, makes buying a vehicle not a terrible, financial decision. Buying a Cybertruck at 8.75% interest is a terrible financial decision. Literally the worst financial decision I've ever made in my life. But again, just to break that down for you, a lot of it has been subsidized, meaning after I take in my gas savings on average, I'm down to $1,300 a month versus the $2,100 a month. After I get a few like Turo bookings for the vehicle, let's say for instance, just on a very minimal basis, it gets booked out for like 3 days. Let's knock off like $300 off the vehicle. Now what does that take us down to? Like $1,000 a month. I'm basically able to drive a Cybertruck with full self-driving. That's another perk that I can put in there for like value add, like me being a business owner, me being able to like still like work from my phone, be in meetings and all that, like while my vehicle's taking me on like an 8-hour trip to like a customer visit or something. Is super, super valuable. Like that way overcompensates the amount of money I pay for the Cybertruck on a monthly basis. Even at the full price, like it's just hands down, just like it just doesn't make sense, like for me to have a vehicle that is doesn't have FSD, and that doesn't even consider like future opportunities where like something like a Tesla, you could put it on the robotaxi fleet at some point in time. This is like kind of a way that you could potentially start buying Teslas now, have them as your personal vehicle, not have any interest losses. Your only losses would be basically on the depreciation of the vehicle, which is the reason why I don't like vehicles over properties, because properties appreciate, vehicles depreciate. And that's why, like, if you buy a property, don't even make any money on it, and you just hold it and just pay like the minimum payment every month, buy like a renter or whatever. Over time, you'll build equity, and if you can just do that as much as possible, where you just like literally have enough to make a down payment for a property and do another one and do another one and do another one. Over time, 10, 20, 30 years from now, you can go sell that entire portfolio to somebody and, make a crap ton of money. Not only did it pay down, so you built equity during the pay down after the 30 years, or if you did it as a 15-year mortgage, not only did you build the equity like that, but you also built the appreciation of holding it for like 30 years. And that's exactly why I built out the sheet that I built out. Maybe I'll make a video on that and go through some of those like properties things. I don't dive much into those things. I don't mind being transparent, but one thing I try not to do is do like screen recording things, because then I have to give it to my editor. And then that also creates delays. So I'm like going to put this video out. Like I'm going to upload it as soon as I stop recording and get it out. And now I even am using like AI tools and stuff like that for the thumbnails and all that. So that way just create like zero latency, let my editor focus on like more planned edit things for like Elite Automation and some of the other personal MG things that we have going on, Elite Property things. But yeah, again, thanks for viewing. Hopefully this was insightful. If there's anything in particular you'd like for me to talk about, drop it down in the comments below. I know this has been kind of a long video. About 30 minutes is my average, so if you don't like 30-minute videos, I'm probably not the guy to watch. You can watch some of my short videos. My short videos will be like 3 to 10 minutes long, but those are just cuts of these longer videos, and you don't get the whole ball of wax, So catch you on the next one. Thank you for viewing. Appreciate everybody who stuck around to the end, and let me know in the comments below if there's anything in particular you'd like to discuss and to learn about. Peace.